Wawona tree, Sequoia giganteum, was one of the most famous giant sequoias ever known. Growing in California's Yosemite National Park, it became world famous after a tunnel was carved through its enormous trunk in 1881 so that horse-drawn carriages, and later automobiles, could pass through it. Although the tunnel attracted millions of visitors, it also weakened the tree's structure. After surviving countless storms and more than 2,000 years of natural history, the giant finally collapsed beneath heavy snow in 1969. Today, its fallen trunk remains where it landed, reminding visitors that even Earth's greatest giants are not indestructible. The story of the Wawona tree is often cited as one of the earliest lessons in balancing tourism with conservation. Mother of the forest, Sequoia giganteum, was one of the largest and oldest giant sequoias ever discovered in California. During the 1850s, its bark was stripped away and shipped across the Atlantic to be displayed in exhibitions in New York and London, where people marveled at the size of the giant tree. Tragically, removing the protective bark left the living tree exposed to insects, disease, and fire. Within only a few years, the once majestic giant died. Scientists believe it had stood for more than 2,000 years before human curiosity brought about its destruction. Today, the remains of the mother of the forest serve as a powerful reminder of how easily ancient natural wonders can be lost forever. Mark Twain tree, Sequoia giganteum, was another legendary giant sequoia that once towered over California's Sierra Nevada mountains. Estimated to be well over 1,300 years old, it survived centuries of wildfires, harsh winters, and dramatic climate changes. In 1891, however, the tree was deliberately cut down so its enormous trunk could be exhibited to demonstrate the incredible size of California's forests. Ironically, the gigantic sections shattered when they struck the ground, making transportation nearly impossible. What had survived for over a millennium disappeared within days because of human ambition. The Mark Twain tree became one of history's greatest examples of why ancient forests deserve protection rather than exploitation. Pioneer cabin tree, Sequoia giganteum, was one of California's most recognizable giant sequoias because a large tunnel had been carved through its trunk during the 19th century. For decades, visitors walked and drove through the opening, making it one of the state's most photographed natural landmarks. Although the tree continued growing despite the massive wound, its structural strength gradually declined over time. In January 2017, after relentless winter storms and heavy rainfall saturated the ground, the ancient giant finally collapsed. Believed to be more than 1,000 years old, the pioneer cabin tree had survived countless natural disasters but ultimately could not withstand the damage caused by human modification. Its fall marked the end of another legendary giant that had inspired generations of visitors. Dyerville giant, Sequoia sempervirens, was one of the tallest and oldest coast redwoods ever recorded in California. Estimated to be over 1,500 years old and standing about 113 meters, 370 feet, tall, it survived centuries of storms, fires, and floods. In 1991, after its roots were weakened by years of erosion, the giant unexpectedly collapsed into the forest. Even after falling, its enormous trunk stretched across the ground like a natural bridge, reminding visitors of the incredible size these ancient redwoods once reached. Lindsey Creek tree, Sequoia sempervirens, was among the largest coast redwoods ever discovered. Growing in northern California, it reached an incredible height of around 120 meters, 390 feet, before a violent storm in 1905 caused it to fall. Scientists believe it may have been one of the tallest trees ever to exist. Today, only historical records and the remains of its giant trunk tell the story of this lost forest giant. Giant of Kalaloch, Piscia sitchensis, was one of the largest Sitka spruce trees in Washington state's Olympic National Park. Its enormous trunk and towering height made it one of the park's most famous attractions for decades. In 2014, severe coastal erosion caused the ancient tree to collapse into the Pacific Ocean. Although it no longer stands, it remains one of the most memorable giant trees ever lost to nature. Founder's tree, Sequoia sempervirens, is one of California's most famous giant redwoods and a symbol of forest conservation. Standing nearly 105 meters, 345 feet, tall and estimated to be over 1,300 years old, it has survived countless storms and wildfires. While many nearby giants were cut down during the logging era, Founder's tree was preserved because of conservation efforts. Its story highlights how protecting ancient forests can save these extraordinary giants for future generations. Colonel Armstrong tree, Sequoia sempervirens, was one of the greatest coast redwoods in California's Armstrong Redwood State Natural Reserve. Towering more than 94 meters, 310 feet, high and estimated to be over 1,400 years old, it had already been standing long before the Roman Empire reached its peak. For centuries, it survived lightning strikes, powerful Pacific storms, earthquakes, and wildfires that destroyed countless neighboring trees. Its thick bark, which can exceed 30 centimeters in depth, protected it from intense heat and insects. Today, the Colonel Armstrong tree remains one of the tallest surviving redwoods and represents the strength and resilience of Earth's ancient forests. Federation giant, Eucalyptus regnans, was one of Australia's most legendary mountain ash trees. Historical records suggest it stood well over 110 meters, 360 feet, tall, making it one of the tallest flowering trees ever measured. It grew in the cool forests of Victoria, where fertile soil and abundant rainfall allowed it to reach extraordinary heights. For hundreds of years it dominated the forest canopy before being lost during the logging era. Although the original tree no longer exists, its measurements remain part of Australia's natural history, reminding us that some of the world's greatest forest giants have disappeared forever. Iluvatar, Sequoia sempervirens, is one of the tallest coast redwoods ever discovered, reaching approximately 113 meters, 371 feet, into the sky. Hidden deep within California's protected old-growth forests, this remarkable giant escaped the widespread logging that destroyed millions of redwoods during the 19th and 20th centuries. Scientists estimate it is between 1,500 and 1,700 years old. Despite centuries of storms, wildfires, and changing climates, Iluvatar continues to grow. Its secret location is carefully protected to prevent damage, making it one of the last surviving giants from an ancient forest that has largely vanished. The big tree, Eucalyptus regnans, was one of the most famous giant eucalyptus trees ever recorded in Australia. During the 19th century, explorers described it as one of the tallest trees on Earth, towering above the surrounding forest like a natural skyscraper. It became a symbol of Australia's incredible old-growth forests before disappearing as extensive logging transformed much of the region. Although the original giant has been lost, historical photographs, surveys, and written records continue to preserve its legacy. The story of the big tree reminds us that some of the greatest living giants in history now survive only through records and memories.